Hey, welcome back everyone. In this new tutorial, we are going to add a start menu to our 2D platformer game. So recently we've created our first level. We have the player, we have the enemies, and all of the things that we need for a 2D platformer game. But we need a start menu so that we can adjust some settings or check out some information about the number of coins and so on. So if this is the first time you're visiting my channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so that you get notified when I release new videos. And let's jump right into it. So first of all, we need to add a new scene to create our start menu. Under the scenes folder, we have our first level, which is this level. Let's create another one using right click, create, and let's use a scene. I'm gonna call it menu. Then let's open it up and we have an empty scene, but it looks a little bit boring without a background. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is to add a simple background. Under the backgrounds folder, we have few background images. Let's use this one. Then let's create a simple ground using the palette. But first of all, we need to create a tile map. So if you don't know how to create a simple level using the tile map system, make sure to check out my first video. I'm gonna add a link to it under the video description. Basically, we need to create a tile map using right click to the object, then tile map, and we are using the rectangular one. Then we can open the tile palette, which we have created in the first video. You just need to hold the left mouse button. Then let's add the edges. Then let's select this tile and continue drawing our level. I'm using the middle mouse to pan around. And I think that's okay. We can close this window. Now let's add few buttons, like the start button. But before that, you need to add few sprites. So you will need a play button, another one for the settings. Also, we'll be able to change the VFX sounds. And if you don't know, I'm using the free asset on the Asset Store. You could get the link under the video description. So let's drag these sprites and I'm gonna put them under a sprites folder. Then let's add our first button using right click, UI, and let's use a button, and that's going to create a canvas. I'm gonna call it play button. Let's remove the text because we are using the sprites. I'm gonna put it in the middle using Shift Alt. Let's select the middle option. Also, let's change the size a bit. I'm gonna use 160. Maybe that's too much. Let's change it to 150 by 150. Then let's select the play sprite, or you could drag it under the source image, and that's gonna be our play button. Then let's duplicate it and let's call this one settings button. To go to the settings menu, I'm gonna move it on the X by 160 and let's change the size a bit. I'm gonna make it smaller, like 130 by 130, or maybe 110 by 110. Also, let's move it a bit down. And let's drag in the settings sprite. So try to play around with the button positions until you get it right. And finally, I want to add a shop system. So let's add a button to go to the shop menu. Let's duplicate the settings button. And let's change the X position to -200. Also, we need to import this shop sprite. Then let's use it. But first, let's rename the button shop button, and let's select it. You could search for it. But if we play the game and click on these, nothing will happen. Basically, we can add functionality to these buttons by selecting the button. Then you see down here we have on click. We can put a list of functions that is called whenever we press the button. But first I'm gonna fix this error. Basically, it's under the event system, and that's because we are using the new input system. Make sure to click on this button and the problem will be fixed. Then let's start by the play button. Let's go down here. So you could create a function to load our level. Then you can call it when we click on this button. But we want to create multiple levels. So when we click on this, we need to display some kind of levels menu that displays all of the levels. And to do that, we just need to disable this menu. You could call it main menu and enable the levels menu. And to do that, we need to put all of these buttons under another object using right click, UI, and I'm gonna use a panel. Let's call it main menu. Then let's put all of the buttons under this main menu panel or object. You could also adjust the color. So I'm gonna change the transparency to 0. Now we want to disable this main menu when we click on the play button. And to do that, it's very simple. We just need to hit this plus icon and we need to add some kind of a function that will be called when we click on the button. Basically, we need to disable this main menu. You could drag it under this object. Then under here, we have game object, set active, false. Now, whenever we click on this button, it will disable the main menu. So let's check it out. When I click on it, and yeah, it is disabled. But also we need to enable our levels menu. And to do that, I'm going to create another panel using right click, UI, then panel, and let's call it levels menu. Also, I want to change the alpha to 0. For now, I'm going to disable the main menu so that we can adjust our levels menu. Here we need to add a button to go back to the main menu. I'm going to use right click, UI, button, and let's call it back button. You could use the text, but I'm going to use a sprite. First, let's change the size to 80 by 80 and the sprite to this one. And let's move it down a bit, like -150. And this button will do the opposite. Let's go down here. And we need to enable our main menu using game object, set active true this time to enable it, and disable the levels menu. So you could drag this object and select the method set active false. And the same thing for the play button. We need to enable our levels menu. You just need to select game object, then set active true. Now let's give it a try. By default, we are inside the main menu. And let's hit play. And there you go. Now we can go to the levels menu. And we can go back as well. So it's very simple to add functionality to these buttons. Now we could add another button under the levels menu to play any kind of level. And to do that, let's disable the main menu again. And let's add another panel to put all of the levels using right click, UI. I'm gonna use a panel as well. And let's call it levels. Also, I want to change the size a bit. So let's put it at the center. And let's change the width to 550 and the height to 400. And this time I'm gonna change the color to a black one. So try to play around with these settings. Then let's create another button under this levels menu using right click, UI, then button. For this time I'm gonna leave the text because we want to write the number of the level, like the first level. We can adjust the width and the height as well. But that's gonna be a little bit annoying. Basically, we have another component that allows you to arrange a number of buttons using a grid. So let's select this levels menu. Then let's add a component. And let's search for a grid. Basically, it's a grid layout group. Now you could duplicate the button and it's going to put them accordingly. Also, you could change few settings from this component, like the cell size. Let's change it to 90 by 90. And we can adjust the spacing, like 10. I think it's okay. You could also change the start corner. I'm gonna leave it as default, the upper left. Also, we have the child alignment. Let's use the upper center to center these buttons. So later on, we are going to adjust this levels menu and we'll be able to unlock levels and so on. But for this time, we will only play the level without checking if it's unlocked or not. For example, when we click on this button, we need to play the first level, which we have created. But first, I'm gonna get rid of these. You could add them later on. And let's change the text a bit. Let's make it bigger. Also, I want to change the sprite. I'm gonna use this one. After that, we can add a function that will play the level using the scene manager. And to do that, we need to create a separate script for that. So under the scripts folder, let's create a new C# script. I'm gonna call it menu events. Then let's open it up in Visual Studio. And under this script, we can create our functions. But first, I'm gonna get rid of the start and the update methods. We don't need these. And let's create a simple function using public. Make sure it's public so that we can access it from our buttons. And let's call it load level. So this function will take the level index that we're gonna load. So let's pass in int and let's call it index. Also, don't forget to add the return type, which is void. Then under these curly braces, we are going to load the level that has this index. For example, if we pass in 1, we load the first level, and if we pass in 2, we can play the second, and so on. And to do that, we need to use the scene management namespace using Unity Engine dot scene management. Then we can use scene manager dot load scene, and this function takes the scene index. Let's pass in the index variable. Basically, each scene has a built-in index, and to get that, you could go to File, then Build Settings. For now, we have the level, and this is the index. Also, make sure to drag in all of the levels under this box, or the game will not work. For example, let's put our menu. You could also change the index. I'm gonna put it first. Our menu has the index 0. Then the first level has the index 1. And you could add as many levels as you want. Now we can call our function when we click on the button. For example, if we click on this button, we want to load the first level. So let's click on this icon. Then to use the function, we need to attach our script to an object in our menu. For example, I'm gonna put it under the canvas. So let's drag it under our canvas object. You could also create an empty game object for that. Anyway, we can select the button. Then we need to drag in the object that has the script. Now you could see that we have the menu event script. And under here, we can select our function. But I forgot to save the script. Make sure to hit Ctrl S. Now we can select our function from the script, which is load level. And now we can pass in the level index. So we want to play the first level when we click on this button. And with the same function, you could play the other levels as well. But for now, I'm gonna stick with that. So let's disable our levels menu and enable the main menu by default. Now if we hit play, we can go to the levels menu. Also, we can go back. And if we click on this button, and there you go, we are in the first level. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question or comment, make sure to write it under the comment section down below. Also make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. So I don't want to make this video longer than that. In the next one we are going to work on the settings. We will be able to change few settings when we click on this button, like the volume of the sounds. And in another video we are going to focus on the shop menu. We will be able to buy characters using the coins. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when I release new video. And I will see you in the next one.